What's going on, y'all? Hey, so I got the opportunity to sit down with Drew Camden with Rotor Riot and ask some questions and discuss some of the recent changes with the business model, the business structure, future plans, current plans, answer some of the accusations and questions that have been circulating around in the community. People are calling for a boycott that puts real people's livelihood in jeopardy. We see a lot of comments, both positive and negative, being made on both sides. In preparation for this conversation, I also did research and we'll be sharing that information down in the body of the video in the descriptions. Don't consider myself a journalist. I'm not trying to be a journalist. I'm just trying to have a conversation to challenge my own opinions. In the business world, you have perceptions, and perceptions can be right or can be wrong. The beautiful thing about the business world is you challenge your perceptions. You find metrics, you find sales numbers, you find financials, you meet with departments, you meet with individuals to get accurate information, accurate data, to acquire data points, to then accurately base your opinion and decisions on, keeping emotions out, and you're performing at your top with the proper decisions. And so that's why I reached out to Drew. I wanted to get firsthand communication, dialogue, firsthand data, so I could challenge my own geopolitical opinions, challenge my own community opinions, and see if I still stay with what my current opinions are, what changes, and just overall informative. In a civilized society, people should be able to debate opposing opinions without degrading themselves down to insults and unproductive conversations, which is very rampant right now in many of the FPV groups. The moment that you relegate yourself, you degrade yourself to insults, is the moment that you have lost the debate. Control your emotions. Let's have open dialogue. Let's have open conversation. And at the end of the day, if two people still have opposing opinions, respect each other. Respect each other. I hope that you find it informative, whether it changes your opinion or not. Everybody has a right to their opinion. Everybody should behave as an adult, respectful, keep their emotions in check, and debate in a productive manner versus a hostile, unproductive manner, which is so common and what is currently going on in the FPV community right now. With that said, here's the interview.
You're doing a podcast?
Well, I've got plans to try and do something. I got,
Okay.
playing around, just chasing the fun,
Yeah.
some streaming and some podcast stuff like that, and see what happens. I just like trying things and seeing where it
Sure.
goes.
No, I miss when I'm getting feedback, by the way. I can kind of hear myself. Wait. No, it goes away if I talk long enough. I'll live with it. Yeah, I kind of miss the time in the FPV world when like everyone and their uncle had a podcast.
I can,
You know?
I bet I've just now started getting into the podcast. Let me
Yeah.
look at the camera, um, on Spotify, and it seems interesting. Um, just meeting some people, and you learn some things when you step out of the local, or
Yeah.
step out of your own little world of just flying by yourself and stuff like that. And when you hear other people talking from around the world, you're like, oh, I never thought of that. So it's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
And where are you located again?
Arkansas.
Yeah. Cool.
And you're still in Florida?
Florida.
Okay.
Florida.
Um,
Um, and then what was my other question? I was just curious. Yeah, I guess just more like when you thought you might put this out and stuff like that. But are you even sure you're gonna post this then? If you haven't posted anything
I
yet, or maybe I'll be your first episode.
I think so. I mean,
What's the name of this podcast? What
I
are we even
don't, man. I
doing?
haven't even got that far with
Oh,
all
okay.
the drama that came up. I've got, as I kind of said, I've got my opinions based on the data points that I know,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of negativity and a lot of just whatever,
Yeah.
and I just figured to challenge my own opinion and see if it changes or stays the same or what have you.
Well, what's your opinion?
Well, my opinion, you got time? So my opinion is there's a lot of geopolitical things that have been going on since just before COVID. You got two adversarial governments, China and the United States. You've got trade wars. You've got wars, physical wars between Russia and Ukraine, and the world is changing. Population is birth rates is dropping. Nations are going to shrink in population. There's a whole lot of challenges to the manufacturing change, uh, threats to data and things of that nature. So, with all these things going on, to me, the steps that from what I'm understanding that Rotor Riot is taking right now, um, other drone companies and stuff, it's just part of the change.
Hmm.
Manufacturing is coming back to the United States. Manufacturing is going to go to Mexico. Manufacturing is going to go to India and Vietnam and all these other places that are now cheap. Labor is cheaper than China after
Yeah.
40 years of growth. Um, Populations are shrinking. They're not going to be able to maintain the same manufacturing capacity. I'm always a full supporter in those jobs that left the United States when I was a kid. That was a big hot topic. Was all these jobs getting exported to other countries? Now it's
Yeah, I'm from
it's
Michigan, Detroit area.
yeah, yeah. So it
Yeah.
affected you pretty hard, probably your family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
At
now
least we
that
got some bandos to fly out of it, but
true, you are blessed there. We don't have anything in Arkansas. All we have is parks and trees. We don't have any bandos.
yeah.
Anything
So
that
the
gets out
collapse of
there,
the American economy, at least we got bandos, right? No,
right?
or not American manufacturing economy, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but deglobalization that America started after World War II to establish security
Yeah.
globally. That period of peace, which people wouldn't believe it's peace, but it's one of the most peaceful periods of world history.
Yeah.
It's ending, and what I see the moves that Rotor Riot, Red Cat, Ultimate Unusual Machines, Catalyst Machine Works, Lumineer, Get FPRD, Race Day Quads, and everybody. It's just the way it's going. You can't stop
Yeah.
it. Putin's
I
not
think
going to.
people fail to like people that are like deep just in the microcosm of the FPV community. Like fail to see that like we're like this little ship just on there are these huge global tides
Hmm.
changing everything. There's a little bit of like, you know, we're along for the ride, but we're also masters of our own destiny. And I don't want to, I if someone's upset with something we're doing, I don't want to like kind of take the easy way of saying like, well, you know, it's just things are happening and we're doing what we gotta. Like there's autonomy, there's choices. I do think that any serious drone company not um, participating in some level in defense
Hmm.
is not going to survive. We're not going to make it. I mean, you know, other companies are ahead. Get
Hmm.
FPV's been doing this since 2019. ORQA has completely pivoted to being a defense company. Like if you go to ORQA's LinkedIn, they
Hmm.
call themselves a defense company. We're not focusing solely on defense. Like consumers are passionate. It's why we're into it. We're always going to do FPV for freestyle pilots, racers, cinematography, all that. Um, but you know, it's weird to even say we. I don't even know that it's fair to say we're doing defense in a sense. I mean,
Well, that's why I wanted to.
I don't want to lean into the obfuscation, but like we're setting up. We're trying to position as a supplier to American drone companies. Teal is an American drone company. They're interested in doing something with FPV. They are planning to purchase FPV components or fully assembled drones from us. They
Okay.
will then use them for defense purposes because Teal's a defense company.
Okay.
So you know we're supplying to them,
S-
and you know actually to be fair, we have done some limited sales to defense organizations like to departments in the DoD.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess we are. Yeah, so we're doing defense to some extent,
So
but we're not pivoting our focus. It's just kind of one. It's like GM does. So this to me is nothing new. Like I used to work for General Motors.
yeah. Right.
You know,
Right.
so I'm like I knew there's some amount of defense work going on there.
Correct.
There's aerospace. They supply to NASA.
Well,
So
it's too lucrative not to, which only ensures the health of a company and ensures that employees can continue to come work, because the consumer side margins and stuff are so slim.
yeah.
We're seeing this in my industry now that
Man, it
things are
makes me
tight.
laugh when people like in the FPV world look at like our product release and like, oh, they're making a fortune off this drone frame. I'm like, y'all, FPV retail margins are so slim. It is very tough to make a business
And
out of the consumer
yeah,
space. Incredibly
the
tough.
federal taxes. I mean, like, the Chinese manufacturers, they give you very small margin, and then 50% to 70% of that margin goes in federal taxes.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you have one
And
little
then with the
hit,
tariffs, and that's what was an unfortunate thing, that the tariff on Chinese imports, I get the intent, but for certain businesses like small U.S. retailers, it didn't work. It actually had the opposite effect,
I could see that.
because we're having to pay all these tariffs. The idea would be that we would charge the customers more. I mean, that's what the American government would say. Well, we're
Correct.
going to charge you a tariff, so you're going to pass that along to your customers, and eventually customers will start shopping American because American parts will be cheaper. The reality is these Chinese companies will sell direct through Amazon, Alibaba, other
Avenues.
places where there's no policing. So they'll come after us, if we just didn't pay our tariff bill. They'll come
Well,
after us. Or Bezos will just pay the bill. And it's a way in which there's subsidization. So to do U.S. Manufacturing has been something that I've wanted to do, been passionate about since we really established the business of Rotor Riot in 2019. I know Rotor Riot had a lot going on prior to that, but I really see the business as starting when we moved the company to Orlando and set up the warehouse. So one of the first things we did to differentiate Rotor Riot from its competitors was building drones in the in-house in
Right.
America. And then the next step was, well, let's start making the components in America too. And then I realized, it's going to be really tough to compete with the costs. But now with some of this focus and funding, and tariffs slowly also, I don't know if it's tariffs or what, but we have seen the price of Chinese components going up a lot. We're at a point where we're able to do that, and we have American components coming out. I don't know when this podcast is coming out, so either it already will be out or this is a leak. Like this is our U.S. made flight controller. So this is coming out
Come on,
mid-July. So depending on if you release this podcast, it may already be out. But this is an F7 flight controller
Wonderful.
that's made fully in the United States. It's NDAA compliant. We're seeking Blue UAS approval, and I don't want to confirm price because we're still finalizing it. But our goal is to not anything that we make in America, we want it to not be more than 20% of what people are used to paying now. So like if there's a high quality FPV flight control, let's say it's $100. I know they're cheaper than that, but if it was $100, our ceiling for our price ceiling is $120. So that's where we're starting and trying to make sure that we stay competitive. It's going to be more expensive. It just is. I'd love to be less expensive, but it's just not going to happen. But to even be this competitive is a new opportunity now, which didn't exist several years ago.
Which I personally am thrilled to hear. I'd like to see. I mean, that's part of the strategy with everything that they're doing with the recent laws and tariffs and stuff, is to try and drive manufacturing back home to some extent. Not everything's gonna be able to be manufactured here, but some things will have to be manufactured in other countries. Like Mexico is poised, if they can build out their infrastructure and if they can get a grip on the crime. Mexico is poised to go through such an industrial revolution that their middle class is going to see tenfold gains in quality of life and stuff. And it's just
we're talking to potential partners in Mexico, Taiwan, Europe. Yeah. So I want to do as much domestically in the United States as possible, but also there's I'm a fan of globalization
correct.
too.
But it takes time to build that infrastructure, build
Yeah.
that manufacturing industry, rebuild it basically from scratch. And as it grows, manufacturing will become a little bit cheaper. Products will become a little bit cheaper. In the last couple of years, we've seen investments in capital investments in the United States in developing manufacturing increase something like tenfold. It's now like $200 billion last year, and it's just going to continue going to build out that infrastructure
Right.
to restabilize the United States. And we're not the only one. European countries are doing the same thing. One of the downsides of fallouts of COVID, if you will, is the having all your eggs in one basket. How one country or what have you could control so much of the globe, and so people are like, even before that, because of labor costs and stuff. But before that, people started looking at possibly diversifying more. COVID came, and that's speeding it up. So real quick, can we reverse back a little bit, because
Yeah.
to get just a more clear understanding. So Red Cat was initially a drone data collection company, what have you, analyzing drone
Sure.
data, correct? Something like that,
I mean,
or
yes, no. I mean, it never actually really did anything in that space. I mean,
okay,
Red Cat initially back in the day was working on what was the original potential? It was like they were gonna do black boxing and secure or encrypt black box data on a blockchain. That was
okay,
kind of like the initial idea of Red Cat. But I mean,
okay,
it's pretty common to see like with young startup companies, you might set out to do one thing and do something completely different.
sure,
So that may have been, I think it was on some early investor presentations or how Red Cat initially positioned itself. Yeah, they were saying drone data collect. I'll just say Red Cat never actually acquired drone data from any drones other than its own, um, you know, test runs.
okay,
So Rotor was the first acquisition. Um, Rotor mission didn't really change. Then and Red Cat was still exploring what it could do. It's like, okay, we have this subsidiary that's got revenue. They've got hardware. They've got access to the best pilots. You know, FPV is the most like brutal and intense drone use case. So you'll see in a lot of drone companies, there's a lot of FPV talent there. So the acquisitions kept going. There was Skypersonic, there was Fat Shark, some more hardware companies, right? And then eventually Red Cat acquired Teal drones. And Teal really became the sole focus of, of Red Cat. Fat Shark and Rotor Riot, those were mine. I ran the consumer division of Red Cat for a couple of years, and it was pretty fun because Red Cat corporate was solely focused on building out the Teal business model, and the whole black box drone analyzation thing that pretty much went away. Teal is really what they're doing. I mean, Teal is a gargantuan effort. It went from less than 10 employees when Red Cat acquired them to now there's this big warehouse, big factory with more than 60 people working there and growing.
okay. Alan created Unusual Machines and purchased it from Red Cat. Is that correct?
Yeah, so just to be fair, Jeff Thompson actually founded Unusual Machines. So
Okay.
the CEO of Red Cat,
Red
Jeff
Cat.
Thompson, did found Unusual Machines.
Okay.
Um,
And so they're basically
it's-
splitting strategically, but still
exactly.
under
So
the,
he created this new shell, right? So think of Unusual Machines as just this like empty company. Put Alan in place as CEO, hired a CFO, Brian. He's awesome. 2 employees. There was no operations, no revenue, no nothing. It was like an empty company. So they took my whole division in Red Cat, the consumer segment, Rotor
Right.
Riot and Fat Shark, sold it into that empty company and took it public. And now I'm COO of Unusual Machines.
okay.
So effectively, it's like a spin out, but done in a very clever way so that there could be IPO and financing.
Sure.
Because we needed,
So you
because
could-
now we're like, okay,
So you could raise money.
Drew, you've been running the consumer segment of Red Cat, and just kind of doing organic growth, funded organic growth, but no real new initiatives. But now this is going to be the focus. We're going to IPO this separately. And now things are going to be funded. It's going to be aggressive and fast, and we're going to try to, develop new verticals. Want to shout out, Stacy Wright, who we promoted to be the president of Rotor Riot. So she's keeping all the retail growth, all that just going, keeping that building, growing 20% year over year.
So Rotor Riot, as we know it, as the community knows it, that's going to continue on. There's no changes planned for that.
Right.
Right. Okay. On top of the Rotor Riot, you're going to have some new initiatives behind the scenes that you're going to work on.
But there's overlap, right? Because I would say developing an FPV flight controller was an unusual machines initiative. I worked that very firsthand. But the general manager of Rotor Riot, Tyler Crane, was instrumental in supporting that development. And then when it came close to the time of release, we're like, well, how are we going to brand this? And we considered using the Unusual Machines brand. Maybe we'll make an Unusual Machines product. Or maybe we'll make a Fat Shark. Maybe we'll make this the Fat Shark flight controller. And ultimately we're like, no, let's just make it a Rotor Riot flight controller. Like, that's the best FPV brand we have. Fat Shark really is the goggle company. So if we're making headsets, it's going to be Fat Shark. Hype Train, do we want to make that in electronics? Not like, that's the motor brand. Like, Rotor Riot can be more of a catch-all. The flight controller is the center of the brain. So we stuck the skull on it and are going to sell it through the retail store and all that. So it's a Rotor Riot product.
So part of the initiatives of this new structure with Unusual Machines, Rotor Riot, Fat Shark, you're looking at manufacturing some components in the United States because a lot of people don't understand that there's a new law that's circulating that tariffs are going to increase each year. 100% increase by the time it's done, plus $100, which is effectively going to price all of us out of the.
You froze.
Oh, did I?
You're back. Yep,
Okay.
You're back. 100%. That's
100% with the $100 on top, and it's effectively going to kill people like me from being able to fly. I'm not going to pay three times what a flight controller is today to be able to keep flying in the hobby. So you're looking at doing some manufacturing that's approved by the government, in which side benefit is it might help secure the future of FPV in the United States. Is there any other initiatives? So one thing I saw was that, Capper was on CNN. He was over in Ukraine. So we got the manufacturing. Can you discuss a little bit about what the Capper visit was, and then are there other things that y'all are working on, or y'all just looking to the future?
Well,
brainstorming?
Chad Capper, founder of Rotor Riot, actually hasn't been part of the company really since the Red Cat acquisition.
Okay,
so he's not been. I mean, it's been nearly half a decade since Chad has been part of Red Cat or Rotor Riot formally.
Didn't know that. Okay.
So he was involved with a nonprofit. I mean, we're still buddies. I talk to Chad every couple of weeks as a friend. And he had done some consulting for Red Cat here and there. He had a consulting contract for something. I wasn't involved in it, right? But he was part of this nonprofit called Drones for Good that was put together near the beginning of the Ukrainian conflict, and they went to Ukraine and they wanted to donate FPV drones to the Ukrainian effort. So when he went over what was that, 2020? Whenever it started.
So that's not a recent CNN interview. That's like old.
It's super old.
Oh, okay.
That's years ago. I mean, that was, I forget. Did it start in 2020? I feel so uneducated now that I can't remember when it started.
The war's 2 years old.
So it started in 2021?
2022, I think. 21, 22 is when the war started, I would think. It's been about 2 years of conflict. Oh, okay. So it's being circulated, on the Facebook communities.
2022. Because the invasion was on February 2022, so that's why I was kind of thinking it was
perception.
earlier.
That it was a recent visit, but okay, so that clarifies that. That's one of the reasons I wanted to to
Oh,
talk with
Chad's
you.
visit? Yeah, yeah. No, that was ages
Okay.
ago.
So
And so he went over there to figure out, um, how could they donate drones? Drones for Good then purchased several hundred drones from Rotor Riot, and Chad took them over himself.
gotcha.
Or
Okay.
no, he didn't take over all the several hundred. He took over kind of like a batch of 10 to figure out how importing would work. So there's ways to
Gotcha.
get things shipped into Ukraine now, but that early on, they hadn't really figured out like what countries do you funnel it through. So he went
Yeah.
over to do it himself. He would happily speak with you too if you want to do another chat, But
I
but
appreciate that. May talk with him too, because if he's still active in that drones for good,
he's not.
that's oh he's
Yeah,
not.
Drones for Good hasn't really done too much with Ukraine since the
Gotcha.
beginning.
Gotcha. I
They're
know.
continuing to do other humanitarian drone efforts, but yeah.
So is Rotor Riot? So Rotor Riot's not involved in the Ukrainian effort in any way right now.
Well, what do you mean involved?
Uh,
Like we would take an order from Ukraine.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But nothing's going. Nothing. No communications or supplies for
Yeah.
thinking
No,
on.
we're talking to
Okay.
entities over in Ukraine. Yeah.
Okay. Trying to fix.
I visited. I've
Okay.
been there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We went over there to meet with the drone pilots and Ukrainian drone manufacturers, see what they were doing, how they were using the drones, and I mean, I support what they're doing. I mean, the people we met with too, these were regular people that have taken up the cause. I mean,
Right.
I don't want to talk specifically about
Sure.
individuals or out any names or specifics, but I mean, you know, like not an exact example, but basically the equivalent of one of the guys was a we'll say was an auto mechanic, and then all this shit happens, and his garage gets blown up, and now he's like, well, I used to work on engines, I could put drones together, so now that's what he does, and
I mean,
it's
defending your
yeah
country is an admirable
yeah
thing to do. And it's not like everybody doesn't like war. I mean, I don't think
I'm not a fan of war.
nobody is. But
To end all wars would be the greatest thing that we could achieve
correct.
as a species.
It's not
But
like
we're not there.
correct, and it's not like Putin is going to read my email that says war is bad and he's going to
Please,
decide
Mr.
to
Putin, stop fighting. No.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got his initiative, which is to control the planes all the way up through Europe, because his population is reducing, and he feels that's his best way for strategic, military strategic preparedness. But
Yeah.
so Rotorite may potentially support the war effort in some manner, whether it be parts or even building drones, or okay.
We're open to.
Okay.
I mean, we're open to taking orders or working with a nonprofit. I mean, we went over there. We've sent samples of our components that we're manufacturing. It's no secret that Ukraine is using FPV very heavily.
I take updates on the war every day, ever since it started out, because the mindset that the shakeup that we felt around the world when we saw Russia get stopped and then pushed back, and supposedly this superpower that we all thought was so much more than what it was actually have a fight on their hands with a much smaller, less
Right.
prepared country. So it's fascinating me, because I grew up in the Cold War era and stuff like that, and so I've always had that perception of Russia as well. And so I watch all the time trying to see, and it's amazing to see how FPV has shaken up the status quo, where we're
Yeah.
tanks that are $50 million, $100 billion and stuff, now are at risk of being obsolete because of $1,000 drone.
Yeah.
I think it was a wake up call for all nations that they have to really take a second look at the preparedness for defense and offense in the realm of drones and FPV specifically.
Yeah.
It's been Ukraine's lifeblood,
Mm-hmm.
and in a messed up way, because war's horrible. But at the start of the war, Ukraine relied heavily on landmines to as a defense and an offense to Russia's tanks and mechanized army and stuff. And what it seems like, which is horrible for civilians, horrible forever.
Sure.
It takes so much work to clear fields, and then it lasts for another 40 years because
Yeah.
you miss one. But what's weird is it seems like because of FPV, the reliance on landmines have reduced, and now they're much more strategic.
One of the things that I do take issue with is people saying, oh, these FPV drones are going to harm innocents. And I'm not saying it's never going to happen. All sorts of horrible things happen in conflict. But FPV drones, the whole point of them is their precision.
Precision.
So I do actually believe that increasing the use of FPV technology will increase the precision at which military actions are taken and actually reduce the amount of civilian and innocent involvement. That's something I really do believe. So I think just broadly, my kind of like oversimplified soundbite is I hope for a future. Well, one, I hope for a future of no war. But if there's going to be war, I could hope for a future where the robots fight each other and not humans. And I think these FPV drones doing some of the fighting is like a little step toward that.
Well,
right?
Yeah, and it's messed because that's my perception, and yes, because of the drama, I wanted to talk with you, but I also wanted to challenge my opinions and see if anything changes, because I definitely stand my ground on my opinions until data point has proven me incorrect, and then I change based on the data point. But yeah, from what I'm seeing, it looks like in a messed up way, it's allowed for potentially less civilians to be harmed.
That's how I see it.
And so,
just my opinion,
right? And
so I do just take a little bit of issue with that particular criticism, but there are other criticisms.
Why do you think so much focus has been put on Rotor Riot, so much, and for some hate, when we know that since 2019, Lumineer, which owns Get FP and now Race Day Quads, they've got $3 million in contracts with everything from the DoD to the missile command.
Yeah.
Catalyst Machine Works migrated and is now owned by a company that is that, in their own words, does recon and strategic tactical drones.
Yeah. Say whatever word you want. But
there's
right.
Yeah. There's
yeah. So and ORQA, right? There's a lot of companies already doing
ORQA.
Yeah.
Well, and then if you go and you look, there's DJI, which I've spoken to people directly in Ukraine. This one gentleman actually went and trained Ukraine on how to use drones during recon when the war started, and worked in a DJI retail store. And still today, even though it's said it's no, we don't, DJI is still openly.
My understanding is DJI puts out a lot of statements saying our drones should never be used for conflict. They won't be blah blah blah. But
there's the orders are flowing.
I was there.
Right.
There's a lot of DJI drones being flown. Also, just Google it.
Right.
You can see the Chinese military practicing with Mavics and Avatas. It's just Google it.
Great. So, I mean, they're supplying Russia.
Right.
We in not just drones, but in other resources as well. But nobody's calling for a DJI ban. In fact, everybody's upset about the potential laws coming out against DJI in the United States right now based on security concerns.
Dude.
It's like
I have to try really hard not to get like incredulous about it or just kind of worked up to some extent, because I'm just like, are you kidding me? What are you guys so upset about? Like, what? This is nothing new. But you can't get that way.
Right.
You can't. I just have to be like,
it's the internet.
So you ask why. Why are we getting the heat?
Well, if you
Is
look at
there
all
an
the
answer as to why?
if you look at all the Russian photographs of the drones being used by Russia, not just Ukraine, because it's the same. It's the same. You know, I went through and I looked at video after video, photograph after photograph. You know, Sky Zone, HQ Props, Geofan, Fox here, TBS, ELRS, Speedy B, Apex, Emax, iFly, Radio Master, DJI, E Machine, Cat, Hobby King. Like, if you're committed to anti-war and
Right.
boycotting or
Well, and that's it. We
blacklisting,
didn't even talk about the boycott assertions. Is that people say, "I'm going to boycott the Rotor Riot retail store." I'm saying, let's. If the way you want to approach being anti-war is to not support any companies that have involvement in a conflict, okay,
supports
but
you, that's your
you're done flying then.
correct. So
There is no like
every
they're
and
like, I'm not ever gonna buy Fat Shark goggles again. And I'm thinking, what goggles are you gonna wear?
right.
Because I could definitely produce a photo, like from Googling. I could find a photo of a soldier wearing those goggles. Like every component's being worn now or used now.
Correct. It's all so. You'd have to give up FPV if you're truly committed to your stance that your FPV shouldn't be used in a war setting. So
Yeah.
why do you feel that every brand, some people are going to say, well, the manufacturers aren't supplying directly. Nobody knows that. That's all they've said. So, and in the volumes that's showing up on the battlefield, it's hard for me to believe that orders aren't being fulfilled directly. Why do all these other stores, retailers, brands get a pass, but Rotor Riot, Fat Shark, this past week is getting all the hate? Do you have any idea on why that would be?
Yeah, I mean that's the question. Why is the hate focus there? I don't know. I could make guesses. I think
I've got assumptions.
people. One guess is just that people weren't aware. Like, yes, if you go to Luminar's website and drop down, tactical is one of the main industries that they advertise for. And when you click on it, more information, it tells you we were awarded this contract in 2019. It's all out there, but I don't think anyone noticed it, paid attention to it. And I think it just kind of flew under the radar, so to speak. And I think that just people pay a lot more attention to Rotor Riot. I mean, we're very media focused. It's a very cool brand. It's like the Rotor Riot Facebook group is one of the center points of where FPV conversation and online community takes place. So I think it's just kind of like a focal point. So people, I mean, even in this chat, you were asking about, Chad Capper visiting and weren't aware that had happened years ago.
Right.
Right. And so like, there's a lot of that going on. Like a lot people missed a lot of stuff.
And
Then now it's been brought to attention, and a few, it's been driven by a couple of the popular people on YouTube deciding to like take a stance about it, which is again ironic because I'm like, what, dude? What if you're gonna boycott Rotor Riot? But it's like, where are you gonna buy from, dude? Exactly. Like it's
you
I'm
can't.
sorry, I don't know if I'm answering your question.
No, you are, because it's the same perception I have, and just to clarify, like in the business world, you have perceptions, and
Right.
perceptions can be right or wrong, and you have to look for data points to either support or to change your perception, and then it's accurate. And so that's kind of why this whole conversation with you is I want to challenge my perceptions and see if I everybody's goal is to always be correct, be right about things in their life.
Well, that's why I was excited to have this conversation. I mean,
I appreciate
like,
that.
you know how this conversation happened is you just asked.
Yeah. Well,
And I was like,
that was
okay.
another question. Before these other creators posted their op-eds, their opinion pieces on what their perceptions, what they believe.
No one asked for a statement.
Okay, that's why I was wondering.
If that's what
Anybody
and it
reach- yeah.
drives me crazy.
Did
I'm like,
anybody reach
y'all are
out?
choosing to be tabloidists when you could be a journalist. Some of these guys like have my cell phone number. You could just call me.
Wow.
I will answer. I will talk to you about this. You and I have spoken very we do not know each other other than comparing notes on some,
You s-
technical stuff.
you sent me some early firmware back when Walksnail first
Right.
launched, and that was the extent of
Yeah,
our
just yeah,
conversation.
that was the extent. And so you had a line in my inbox because I had
Hmm.
already spoken to you.
Well, and everybody
And
does
so,
because it's on Facebook.
well, I do. If we
Sure,
haven't spoken before, it goes to a request. So a lot of
uh,
people, well, you never saw my message. I'm like, dude, it's
that makes
my
sense.
request box is endless. Not to, it
You're
just is when
you're well
you're in the
known,
public
yeah.
eye. Anyways, so we had you had a lot. You had yes, let's talk. I would love to talk to someone about this because everyone wants to talk about us, but somehow is afraid to talk to us.
It's more.
So
It's convenient. It's convenient to have an unchallenged opinion. It's convenient to say I'm anti-war because everybody's anti-war, but that's not going to. That's okay. So you're anti-war. Is Putin going to listen to you? So now what? Now, now what do we do? Putin
yeah.
doesn't care.
I mean,
Um,
listen, there was maybe a time in my life where I thought abstaining from any and all involvement in war, conflict, just complete abstination from that was the right thing to do. So, like, I get why people feel that way. I may have, like, I felt some version of that at one point. And then things change, perspectives change, and I'm still very anti-war, but I don't think that just trying to like put horse blinders on and ignore it and not be involved.
right. It's an
And
unfortunate aspect
the
of
bottom line
world.
is, we are an American company. The American government came to us. What are we gonna like say go away? What I don't.
Really, can you expand on that a little bit? Like, so they came to you. What do they ask? If you can, I don't know if you can.
To the extent that I can say is for years, we have been reached out to by different departments of the DoD to supply limited amounts of material, parts, or fully assembled drones. All of our stuff comes imported from China, so they can't.
Yeah.
I can't confirm. I really don't know explicitly what they are using it for, what they're allowed to use it for, but the fact that our stuff comes from China restricts how much they can buy and what they can use it for. So they have bought very limited amounts, and I think it's usually under like an R&D budget where they're permitted to buy, imported goods because it's research and development that they're doing over there. So we've done these little sales throughout, and they keep coming back to us, right? And then, Red Cat or Teal is saying when they want to get serious about, making this stuff because they're getting, hey, the government's going to Teal and saying, hey, you make a blue UAS solution, the Teal 2 drone. Can you get us something with FPV? They said, well, our good friends at Rotor Riot can, so then they call us. So, yeah, I say they're
Okay.
coming to us, but it's not, the government's coming directly to us. Companies are coming to us. Like, we're good at what we do. We make really good drones.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
like, if this is going to happen, I'm kind of proud to be able to supply them with, like, quality built drones made in Orlando.
Yeah. Right.
It's cool. Like, we have a whole assembly line.
Well, and then would I be correct in saying that of course, that money is gonna go towards, be reinvested into manufacturing in the United States,
Yeah.
American jobs, stuff like that. But also, my perception when the news broke about Rotor Riot, going or unused machines going this DoD route, what have you. To me, it's obvious. You can correct me if I'm wrong. The part of this initiative is helping the United States military not only come up with defensive measures, but unfortunately offensive as well, in order to protect our troops, in order to protect, in a world that unfortunately there is war. No matter how much you are anti-war, the reality
Right.
is there's war. So is it going to try and bolster us, help the United States? In my opinion, it looks like we might, as all worlds were caught with their pants down, the facet of FPV has changed the face of warfare.
Yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
think the United
FPV's
States,
changed a lot.
yeah, and I don't think the United States was
I mean,
separate from that.
I just simply, uh, we're growing to be a U.S. manufacturer. We're a parts supplier. We're a drone builder. I guess I don't. How exactly they're going to use, like how exactly, say, the Army might use FPV drones. I might not get to know that. Maybe I don't want to know that. But they're a customer, right?
Yeah.
The U.S. government is interested in purchasing from us either directly or, indirectly via a company like Teal. We're happy to supply them. I don't need to know exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it. I think we all have a decent
Yeah.
idea,
Train,
right? But
training, learning, and tactical. I mean,
yeah,
all the above.
there could be payload delivery. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I've
we're
seen.
not making payloads, by the way. I'm just gonna say, like, we're not.
It's good you put that out there because somebody's gonna make that leap.
Right.
Um,
And I don't know. I don't ever want to say, oh, we would never do X, Y, and Z. I'm just saying right now we don't, nor do we have any plans to manufacture the payloads. I mean, that would honestly be just a completely different business, whole different set of materials. I
yeah.
don't know why we would ever manufacture the type of payloads that they're, might be interested in carrying. Like, it wouldn't make any sense for us to do it. So we'll supply the drone. They can get their payload from wherever they get it, do their
Right.
thing.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that's
Sure.
where the military is needing help.
No.
It's it's
No.
it's
Yeah.
learning like, oh crap, like everybody got caught with their pants down. How effective FPV is, and so I feel like all nations are trying to catch up. Yes, they've been investing money on the other side of drones with Reapers and smaller drones carrying machine guns and stuff like that, but I really think FPV was a shock because how how effective it was against Russia's mechanized army.
Yeah.
That
One
was a
thing,
shock
and
to
I
the
when I
world.
do get to discuss directly with any party, I really always try to make a point to drive home and make sure that there's not a misunderstanding, because I think some people see FPV and assume that, like, oh wow, that's incredible. Why are we paying for these expensive drones and when this one can fly way faster and do all? And I'm like, you need to understand that one of these drones with GPS and stability and thermal cameras and all that, very easy to fly.
Mhm.
You could fly this drone with an hour or two of training. Our FPV drones are
Right.
extremely manual controlled. It's really not so much that FPV drones are so capable, because they're only as capable as the pilot. It's that they
Right.
allow the pilot to exploit their capabilities.
Right.
So it's when I always want to be clear, like, when you're whoever I'm talking to, when you see an FPV drone do one of these very precision maneuvers, that's because the pilot is
It's
that
good.
dang good.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really gonna have
Well,
to train up these guys,
and
Like, we're just call it a knife.
mm-hmm.
Leave it on the table. It's not doing anywhere. You
Well,
say, hey, go cut something. It's
right.
not gonna move.
Right. It's the
So
same. It's the same
you have
with
to
with a
be
knife, a gun, what have you.
sure.
And that's like the DRL for last 2-3 years has got 3 different initiatives with the United States Air Force. Women in I can't remember what it's called. Women in
Oh yeah, we didn't
FPV,
even, as we were talking
children.
about people involved in defense, we didn't even mention DRL.
Right.
Let alone, by the way, the founder of Race Day Quads was an Air Force pilot.
Right.
Sorry,
Right.
is an Air
Right.
Force
Right.
pilot.
Right.
Um,
Right.
like, it does weird me out how much attention we got when I'm like, y'all, this is nothing new.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, to answer the question you asked a while back, is I just don't know that people were aware or thought about it. I don't know. I don't know why else people might be focused on it. What was your opinion? Why do you think people have chosen to make a big stink out of us and maybe not criticize others as much?
Well, for one, I think on the social side,
Yeah.
it's a way get to get some FaceTime with the community at your
Yeah. Okay. So it's just a hot topic. So they're
at
like,
y'all's
yeah, let me. Okay.
at somebody else's sacrifice.
Sure.
And I think there was already some people that did not care for Rotor Riot. I mean, did not care for
What?
anything. Cause, yeah, right. And so this is just a way for them to just pile on
Yeah.
without. But a lot of the comments that I see, it seems like they're really void of what the geopolitical world looks like and what reality looks like. And it's very easy to say, I'm this. Okay, great. We're all anti-war. That doesn't
Right.
stop the war,
Yeah.
right? I think there's for some it's some are just negative people and
Yeah.
they like to pile on, and I think some are looking for clicks and things of that nature. I mean, it's a hot topic, and as we all know, anything negative on YouTube is probably the best way to get views and clicks and things of that nature.
It works, sure.
People love
Yeah.
negativity,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Unfortunately. But yeah.
let me ask, if you don't mind. I've got a few of the comments that were made, and to
Okay.
see if you have a response.
We're doing mean comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because to me, it's like I don't know. It just really struck me that these are some pretty brazen comments, and if nobody reached out to discuss, maybe you deserve an opportunity to,
Well, let's see.
Okay.
I
So
have an answer or not. I don't know.
we kind of touched on this a little bit, but one was your drones are going to be used to kill civilians and children.
I can't imagine why an FPV drone would be used to target civilians and children. I believe that an FPV drone would actually, FPV drone usage in conflict will actually reduce the amount of innocent civilian and children injuries and casualties because of the precision. You're not, when you just do a bomb strike on a city or landmines or things like that, those are the tactics that people get caught in the crossfire. When you're using an FPV drone to hit a target, like you hit that target. And the great thing is that, with an FPV drone, you have the ability until the very last minute to abort your mission. Like, you can be pilot's seeing what's happening.
That's a good point.
And if the pilot's flying in and sees like, yo, that's not the thing we're looking for. There are people here I wasn't expecting. Just pull up, fly away.
And to expound
there are like autonomously flown missiles. I mean, I'm not an expert in guided munitions, but my perception is that to some extent, once something is launched, it's going, and it's going to be pretty hard to take it off its trajectory. So FPV, you can bail out at any time.
Well, right now Russia's had some effect on the battlefield because they've got a rudimentary version of our I can't think of the name of the system, where we take a dumb bomb and we put a GPS system on it in wings, and we've turned it into a smart bomb. Russia's got their version, but they're pretty inaccurate. To expound on this question, are you now, or would you in the future, be in discussions with the Russian military on supplying parts, or just Ukraine, as you've?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, we will work with Ukraine,
right?
But we would never work with Russia. By the way, I think that would be illegal.
Probably so.
Like, I think wouldn't even be allowed to. But I will also just say, even if I had the personal choice, I would not. Right. I would not be dealing.
Well, that's where we would
Russia.
Definitely have a disagreement on. The reason I ask that is because some people are just, you have to clarify for some people, because they're always going to lean to the side of negativity.
There are. I'm just going to say it as I'm not wanting to target or throw named. There are companies in the FPV industry today actively selling to both sides. That is happening. We know it.
On the U.S. side, or
no, it is happening. No U.S.
China.
companies.
Yeah.
No. I do
Okay.
not. I don't think a U.S. company could sell to Russia if they wanted to.
So you're saying they're located in China, Europe, or abroad?
Yeah.
Okay. That's just disheartening to hear. And the reason I ask this question is just like today, Russia hit a children's hospital. There, from
Yeah.
what I have seen for the last 2 years of literally watching battlefield updates on this, is there there has been occurrence after occurrence of Russia striking civilians, hospitals, and schools. Ukraine not, unless the town has been abandoned. It's the
Right.
front line, and there's Russian troops in this abandoned hospital, and that's all that's in there. That I've seen them. It's a building at that point.
Sure.
And so it struck me because I was like, off of the data points I know, that seems like an incorrect statement that this person made. But then I wanted to hear it from you firsthand because I really don't know. Y'all might, but you clarified that.
Yeah.
So the targeting schools, hospitals. So another statement was made was supplying. Y'all would be supplying drones to the highest bidder, whoever that may be. Whoever's going to pay you the most money is who you're going to supply. There's no moral objection to supplying
Well,
anybody
like I
that's
said, I
going
mean, we're not going to be selling to Russia, even if there were, like, even if, I believe, even if we were allowed to sell to Russia and they were the highest bidder, I can't imagine us doing a sale. So, no, I don't think that statement is correct in a sense, but it's also not like, I mean, yeah, sure, the U.S. government is looking to potentially invest in our company, in our industry, to develop the tech or for us to supply them gear. And we're part of the reason we're interested is because of the potential revenue. Sure.
to.
Yeah. I mean,
Um.
like
Other.
we're a for-profit business,
Well,
right?
sure.
I just want to
No,
be clear. Like
I get that.
it's yeah,
You
it's
can't. You can't.
for-profit. So
People can't have jobs if you lose money.
yeah, but also I think we have passions for the technology and for the community, and so even if we build out like a supply chain and are supplying some drone company some plastic part or something, like that doesn't mean we're going to shut down our retail store. Like we're going to keep developing new freestyle frames. Like we can keep doing that.
So,
So
if just hypothetical, if the company changed directions and was looking at, you know, you know, potentially crossing lines or whatever, would you personally have a moral objection to that, or would you take a stand against that direction? You
which
know,
direction?
And let's say hypothetically, all of a sudden, unusual machines is like we're going to sell parts to Russia, or through
Yeah,
China
oh,
to
yeah.
Russia.
Okay, again, assuming this were possible, yeah, I would be very opposed to that.
Okay, all right,
Absolutely. Yes, if my company was supplying to like terrorist organizations or something,
right,
like I'm out. I'm out, dude.
right.
But it's also
I think it's
I
very
don't
very obvious, but again,
yeah.
for some people, I think we need to break it way down
Sure,
because
okay, let's just yeah,
they're
okay.
they're
Yeah,
looking
I think
for
you can get into trouble by assuming things are
yeah,
obvious. So yeah,
they're
let me just say we will not sell to Russia or terrorist organizations or people that we or individuals that we believe are going to use our products in an evil way.
okay, okay.
If you
Um,
think the U.S. government and the U.S. armed forces are evil, then that's where we're going to be disconnected, and we'll just have to,
right,
disagree to agree on that one. So,
yeah,
right.
yeah. There's no solving that one because
Yeah.
somebody does.
Yeah.
Um, so another statement that was made is Rotor Riot will be selling to young people to use their money to harm young people elsewhere.
Okay. Wait, say that again?
So one of the statements that was made was
Yeah.
Rotor Riot would be selling to young people, children, and
Selling
would
to
use their
drones.
money
Okay.
to then harm children in other countries.
I don't know what that. I guess I don't understand what that one's saying. Can you interpret that?
The way I took it is there will be blood on your hands because you're going to sell parts to maybe a kid in the United States, and then take that profit and invest it in a lethal weapon that will be used, I guess, in Ukraine,
Okay,
and would
I
kill a
guess to
child
comment
there.
on that, there is not money being taken from our consumer efforts to fund anything we're doing in the defense space. It would truly be the exact opposite. Any money made from a defense
Interesting.
effort will help our consumer side. There is not enough money. Like the FPV consumer industry is just too small and margins too slim for us to fund um, R&D efforts for defense. Not that we're even doing defense R&D efforts. I'm just saying, like, any money that's spent on the Rotor Riot store goes to paying the employees that pick and pull the orders and pay the rent and the insurance and all that.
Huh,
So,
that's interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, I'm glad I asked the question.
but um, but yeah, I mean, if defense dollars are spent with us, you know, that money could go toward, like, it's part of the defense interest is what funded the development of our U.S. flight controller. This one part is, you know, having a financial impact on multiple U.S. companies. Like, there's a whole supply chain that we're now able to give business to, and this will be released as a retail product. So the average consumer will have the ability to buy this. And like you said, if it gets harder or more expensive to buy Chinese components, there's going to be an alternative. And glad we can support that.
Enlightening to hear that the cash flows more one direction versus
Yeah,
to help build up Rotor Riot in the community versus the opposite direction. So I think that
yeah.
was helpful. I think that I don't think many people would have thought that. So another one after these, I want to talk a little bit about that flight controller because that intrigues me. One of the funniest ones that I heard, it just I don't it just doesn't really make any logical sense to me, but I understand what the implication is. So United Unusual Machines being headquartered in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico to
Uh huh.
avoid taxes,
Yeah.
as in if it was Unusual Machines was in the Cayman Islands or the Bahamas or something.
Yeah.
That's the implication, is that being headquartered in the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico is somehow a shady business practice.
Right. I don't think that's a shady business practice. I think that, the tax benefits are there to help the Puerto Rican economy. I don't, it drives businesses to be there. That's great for Puerto Rico. I mean, I don't know. I don't claim to be an expert in Puerto Rican culture, economics. That being said, we Unusual Machines is not headquartered in Puerto Rico anymore, because Jeff Thompson lives in Puerto Rico. He originally founded Unusual Machines in Puerto Rico, but since taking it public, one of the first things we did was to move the state of incorporation to Nevada. So I
Okay.
believe we are, and a lot of companies are are headquartered in Nevada, but we have no office in Nevada. We have no plans to have an office in Nevada. Our headquarters is in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
We have no employees in. Well, I guess Alan, our CEO, he also lives in Puerto Rico. He may or may not move. I don't know. Um, but yeah, we're not headquartered in Puerto Rico.
That, that,
The
that's in,
incorporation is done in Nevada. I think for tax and legal purposes, that state is friendly to public businesses being set up. But our entire operation is in
okay.
Orlando, Florida.
That's interesting that I mean, Jeff lived there. That's why he did it. But
Yeah,
a quick Chat GPT search
yeah.
question. I mean, there's nothing illegal about being in Puerto Rico. There's no there's nothing shady. It's still the same U.S. federal tax laws. It's still the same U.S. federal
There are tax
laws.
incentives. Yeah,
There are, just like just like states have tax incentives to draw businesses into the, Amazon just came a few years
Just
ago
like
because,
Nevada.
right, right. And I thought that was pretty interesting, and it was so innocent that Jeff lived there. So cool. Appreciate you clearing
Yeah.
that up. And then the last one, one that's probably the one that's thrown around the most concerning to a lot of people in the community was, this will lead to FPV being banned in the United States.
I've seen that. I guess I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I don't really see how that would happen, why that would happen. I'd have some snarky answers. I could, again, just say, well, it hasn't so far, and other FPV companies have been doing this for 5 or 6 years. So, but that's just snarky and misdirection.
Right.
I don't know what.
Could you see it happening?
No,
No.
I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe help me see it. Why would us selling drone parts to Teal or directly to a DoD entity get FPV drones banned
Well,
in the US?
My opinion is it's not. I mean, we've already,
Yeah.
it's a concern that people have, so I wanted to put it to you, and I agree.
I'd love to explore it. I mean, maybe there's something another snarky answer might be, well, sure as hell hasn't gotten guns banned.
Well, see, and that's
And I
that's,
mean, and that's snarky. And by the way, I
well,
mean, you want to put me under fire for something? I'm actually pro more gun restrictions. So, whoa, let's get there. But that's just personal. That's
right,
just,
right. See, my opinion I've shared in response to some of these concerns, which people reject, is one. If that was going to happen, I think with all the other companies being involved well before Rotor Riot,
Yeah.
we would already see that happening. Two, we're still a freedom, liberty loving nation. Guns are still legal.
Right.
We've been printing through gun parts and accessories for guns and things of that nature with 3D printers for a decade. Those aren't outlawed. It seemed to me to be a very far-fetched step. That
I mean, if I were to try, let me just try to. Maybe the sentiment is that if we do something defense related, it will draw attention to the fact that FPV drones are defense capable, and then that will make people freak out and associate drones with weapons or danger, and then there might be more laws banning recreational flying. I mean, I think that there's some leaps in there. Maybe that's what people are thinking. I guess I would just say this is not new. Anyone who's in the position of making laws and regulations is already very well aware and has been very well aware for some time now that FPV drones are capable of this. This is not news. We're not the first to do it. It's not. Maybe the community's just kind of catching wind of it now, but it's commonplace. Elon Musk is tweeting videos of FPV drones striking tanks.
mm-hmm.
That just happened. It's out there. Genie's out of the bottle, people.
Right.
We can't put it back in, for better or for worse. And I get there's a tendency to gatekeep might be a little loaded, but I'll just say, kind of gatekeep our hobby to keep it, safe and protected from being used for, let's just keep it about flying with friends in the park. And it's great and all, but it just, one, it's too late, and that's not how things grow and evolve. And maybe that's another reason Rotor Riot comes a little under fire, is that Rotor Riot has been a proponent of making the hobby and the technology more accessible. I do remember seeing comments that when we released our components having the connectors so that you could connect your motors to the ESC without soldering.
Yeah.
Among the many criticisms, one of them was one person I remember saying in particular was, this is going to make it too easy to people get in. Now idiots are going to get into FPV and they're going to ruin it for everyone. They're trying to gatekeep the hobby. Right. And I'm like, okay, well, then we're just misaligned on this, because I want the industry to grow. I want to create jobs. I want to grow the company's revenue. I want to grow how many people have access to FPV. I want everyone to be able to experience FPV if they want it. I don't want to keep it, so I just might be misaligned with some people who
Yeah.
wanted to keep it smaller.
Well, I
So,
mean, you can make that argument against uh, the Avata too. I mean, there's so many
oh
people that
man,
have
cat's out of the bag, dude. That thing is so easy to fly.
right, and now
Holy crap.
there's so many new people who think they're FPV pilots, and they're moving over to
They
true
are
FPV.
FPV pilots. Come on, man.
Well,
They
you know what I'm
are.
saying.
I know
You
what
know what
you're
I'm saying.
saying.
Because
I know they're not
I own
ripping
the Avata
the
too, so
dual
I'm not.
sticks.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not dissing them, but you know,
That's how you ask. You say, "Hey man, does the stick on the left, does it go doing or does it stay where you put it?"
right.
You might
Um,
be a DJI pilot if it goes doing. Okay, our stick
right.
stays where you put it
Well,
because it's not an altitude stick; it's a throttle stick. You.
exactly. Well, one of the things that always comes to mind on that when they say it's going to lead to a DJ ban, I'm like, but you're missing. To me, that's something that's so obvious. Okay, so we're talking about a flying thing that we did that has been developed over the last decade for enjoyment and freestyle stuff like that. And the Ukraine has shown that it can be have a big effect as a tactical platform in a war. Well, the same thing happened with airplanes. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been strapping bombs and missiles and guns to airplanes, and they're not outlawed.
Right.
So it's like, to me, what's more dangerous? I
Yeah.
mean, because you can still pay a tax stamp and buy machine guns. You can still buy dynamite. You can still make Molotov cocktails. You could do all kinds of things and weaponize an airplane today, and they're not banned. If we could, so let's go back to the flight controller.
Sure.
Like, couple of questions I had when I saw that y'all were discussing that. One is, is quality. Are we potentially going to see a better quality product than we currently get from outside sources? What are intellectual property theft and counterfeiting? Is that a concern? And are there other products being discussed or being invested in, ESCs, what have you?
Yeah. So quality. I believe we're going to make a higher quality product. I mean, I know I'm not an expert in this stuff. I just pulled up an email from the person running manufacturing because I just wanted to get the right terms, like what what quality measures are in place, and the manufacturing process complies with IPC 610, ISO 901:2015, and AS 9100. I honestly am not, deeply familiar with all the different, ISO quality plans and quality manuals, but
So do
the
you,
guy who's doing it is, and I trust him. And yeah, so we've got quality, we've got QC in place, we've got testing in place. There's also a little, quick and like an extent of just quick and dirty quality assurance we'll be doing. Like the first 1,000 flight controllers that we produce, every one of them is going to be tested on the bench.
okay.
Once you get further into the production, you can then start doing
Trusting.
spot checking, check every 100 or something like that, and run it down from there. But for the launch, we'll be doing every single one, and we'll warranty them. If you get a dead flight controller, just support at rotorriot.com. We got you. So yeah, quality, very very pleased with where that's at.
So in the way I look at FPV components today is it's not quality wise, it's a hobby grade quality.
Sure.
Now you've got a few manufacturers in there that make some components that are above the norm, that are
Yeah.
like really solid, and then you have 90% in the middle that's about the same grade quality, it's hobby grade, and then there's like you got 3% or what have you that's not so great hobby grade.
Sure.
Do you think that your flight controller would be at that top tier few components that like I would trust on my cine lifters with the Black Magic, or do you think it's even better than that?
I mean, that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for as good as it can get.
'Cause me personally, I would love to see Made in America, and it's like
Yeah,
it's the shit.
that's our goal. That's our
Okay,
goal.
good.
I mean, until it's out and in the hands of consumers,
Hmm.
anything I say is nothing but words.
Because I will
So
pay.
I can say our goal is to deliver the utmost quality and be the brand that, people such
Okay.
as yourself would be like, yeah, that's what I'll put on the Cine Lifter.
Well,
We have an ESC coming, by the way.
perfect,
It's
wonderful.
not coming out at the same time as the flight controller. It's going to be a little bit delayed because we're working. Well, one, we're making sure the quality is going to be there, but two, the whole BL Heli 32 shakeup hit us pretty bad, so
You're
we had
going.
to retool some stuff.
You're going to AM32.
Yeah, AM32.
Okay.
So that's coming, but it's designed to be A8S capable.
Perfect. How many amps?
I believe 55,
Okay. Okay.
55 amp
It
8S.
just you probably already know this. I'm not sure, but like with some of the people that I've spoken with in Lithuania and Ukraine and stuff like that, people kind of involved with manufacturing drones or training for recon and stuff like that, like Ukraine's starting to manufacture its own ESCs. They're shooting for an 8S 90 amp. It just
Interesting.
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Um, okay, good. Cause see, me, I would prefer.
Maybe we'll buy the Ukraine ESCs. They're good.
I would
They
prefer.
beat us on amp rating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they haven't done it yet, but they're trying.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, we haven't done it yet too, but we're trying.
see that?
We're close. I have one.
Do you? Can you show it?
I've got one of the ESCs here, but it failed. It failed our testing, so that's why. Yeah, it's wrapped up. I don't want to bother showing it because it's not obviously going to be the final design.
Sure.
I mean, it's got the skull on it, so
Okay.
it's real. It failed. So
See,
it's trash.
for me, I would pay pay more money within reason, but I'm fine with paying more to have two things. One, to know that when I'm flying my 5-inch around my house,
Yeah.
around close to neighbors up and down the street, I don't fly over people's backyards and homes, stuff like that, because I've just
Sure.
smarter now. I've just fail safes and stuff. I don't want to hit somebody's car, but
We're dumb at one point. And
Right.
Flew ways we shouldn't have.
right.
So,
But
yeah.
in the park or things of that nature, to to to
It's confidence.
to be more confident that I'm not going to cause any issues, I would pay additional money to have that confidence and that safety feature. That's why I fly the Avata 2 now on the business side, because
Right. It's got those fail safes.
it's just so much
good.
safer. If
It's
I lose
just so good.
connection, it's coming back to
just
me. It's
so
not going to
good.
fall and hit
So
somebody.
good. Yeah.
you know so I'm good.
Yep.
I'm hoping the quality is top notch. I'm hoping
I mean, that's our hope too. We're shooting for that. I think you'd also ask, what did you ask? IP. We're not concerned. I mean, what I love about FPV is it's open source.
Okay.
Someone
Never thought about that.
someone could clone this board. Some people will probably call this board a clone of an existing board. It is what it is. Like, this is not a proprietary technology. This is, an STM-F7 processor running Betaflight.
never thought about it. I got you. That makes sense.
I will say the exact pad layout was designed by me with Tyler, and as far as I know, this is a novel pad and plug layout. No one has this exact layout of solder pads and plugs. Also, hey, it's going to be have all the plugs for everything, so you'll be able to completely build your drone with no soldering. You
Okay.
can plug in your receiver, your video transmitter, your analog camera if you want to go analog, your GPS. So you don't need to solder, or you can solder because it's got both. So
DJI and everything.
yeah, it's
Cool,
got a plug
cool.
for a digital video transmitter. So whether you can use the DJI system or you're going to use the Avatar system, you can plug it into there, and we'll make the plug so you can plug and play. Or if you want to go analog, it's got an analog video transmitter and a camera plug, so then it will do the OSD and everything.
Anything with receivers or anything like that? Any plans?
What I can say, I mean, I've already, said pre-release stuff, um, which I try not to do, but we're psyched about it, and we're having fun. But all I'll say for other components is our plan is to go down the line of every drone component and make an NDAA compliant and ideally
Okay, cool.
a U.S. made in the U.S. solution for those components. That's our plan. That's our roadmap. I don't want to speculate as to how fast we'll be able to do this. And not just FPV. I mean, right now we're starting with FPV focus, right? But we are actively seeking customers in the American drone industry to produce parts for them. So if you or someone is trying to make a drone and you want someone to manufacture the plastics for you, Unusual Machines, give us a call. We're early on that we would be open to customers, and what are we going to focus on, right? I mean, we're still at that
Gotcha.
very open phase where we'll
Gotcha.
take on new clients. We do have some cool plastics stuff coming out soon. Now, again, we're doing a lot of this stuff we're doing. We're going to do an FPV first because we have this existing business model. So, you can think of it as like Unusual Machines is maybe going to do some new plastic manufacturing. The first customer could be Rotor Riot, right? So,
Okay.
we can make things for it's the same company, right? But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it's like we have volume and product lines that we can start leveraging new technologies and new manufacturing partners, get it out into the FPV world. As I said, no one's going to torture test it more than FPV pilots. So it's, hey, the way you guys made
That's the truth.
that plastic part, we'd like you to make our arms for it. Great, we got you, boo.
I'm hoping y'all can go down that components path pretty quickly because I feel like there's a good chance that second bill, that tariff bill, would get passed, and then that's going to start pricing Chinese components,
Yeah.
out of a lot of people's pocketbooks. 25% a year, I think, something like that. Then
Yeah,
capital.
it's gonna get if it passes, it's gonna get heavy. I mean, and I'd hate to see people priced out of FPV. We are, I'll say, focusing right now on the drone components. That's something I like about kind of the open source nature of FPV. Like, let's say we made an ELRS receiver. Well, okay, you could buy the ELRS transmitter from China, even if it's tariffed to all hell, and you have to pay 4x. Well, you only have to buy that transmitter one time. So
Yeah,
just suck it up, pay your tariff. Hopefully, some of that tariff money comes
that's a good
back to
point.
American business like ours somehow. Um, but we want to make the drone components more affordable because how many drones you have versus how many radios you have, right?
Yeah.
So eventually, we'd like to do all or have solutions. So we're not dead set on being the ones to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone out there has a company that makes analog cameras that could plug right into our video transmitters, give us a call. We'll work with you.
Um,
That's on our list of stuff we got to make, right?
we've run the gamut of everything that I kind of wanted to cover.
Okay.
Um, you know, I'd like to just leave it open to you if there's any statements that you want to make to the community, or if there's anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to. Before I give you my great appreciation for taking the time out to
I mean,
sit
just
with
as
me.
a officer of the company, I would not have done my duty if I didn't, remind everyone listening that we are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Our ticker is UMAC. If you think you like what we're doing, you can invest on most any trading platform. You can get on Robinhood and, you know, own a piece of this. So have to throw that out there, but no pressure. No pressure. We might, I don't. I say investment, but any stock purchase into a small company like ours, you could also call a gamble,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's not like you're buying a share of Apple. It's like
right.
there's little micro cap. So, um, but other than that, no, thanks for having me on. Thanks for being a journalist to an extent
I,
and reaching out for comment. And I'm happy to chat. I'm glad you did. I hope this answers some questions. Maybe changes some people's minds and hearts, but also I understand where some people are coming from, and they're just going to feel how they feel, and
Yeah. And
you
and
know,
and you respect everybody's opinion.
yeah,
It's how you carry yourself in debating that opinion that separates an adult from a child. And so I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit down and help me challenge some of my perceptions so that I could feel more confident in basing them off of data.
yeah,
Um, and I've learned a few things, and hopefully some people besides myself have learned a few things and feel much better about everything that's going on, and the future of FPV, and the
I can only
future
hope.
of our military and everything. So thank you very much. Appreciate
For
you.
sure. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, brother. You have a good
It's good
day.
talking. Happy flying.
Happy flying.